Lance Hall here for Let's Discuss with Lance Hall. Happy to welcome Chris, the Professor Black, to the program today. How you doing, Chris?
So far, so good, Lance. Thank you for making time for us and for high spirits on your show.
And as always, I thank you guys too. It is incredibly humbling that you guys take the time out of your day to talk to us out here. I think it's as a guy who's been a fan of music his whole life and posters on the wall and stuff, to talk to the people who are creating the music is amazing. So thank
Well,
you
it's
for
part
your
of the
time.
gig. I've always regarded it that way.
Yeah.
And the vast majority of interviews end up being an enjoyable use of the time. So it's our pleasure, really.
So we're here to talk about the new High Spirits album, Hard to Stop, which is coming out next week on High Roller Records. But first, you're in Chicago, correct?
That's right.
I got to ask you this. Opening day, Cubs and White Sox playing in Chicago tonight. Who are you going to watch?
I don't know that I'm going to make it to the tube for that one. Honestly, with so much going on lately with the album release and trying to keep up with my two kids during this long stretch of basically camping out at home.
Yeah.
Honestly, baseball hasn't hit my radar for this summer, and it ultimately may not.
Okay.
I'm a very I kind of come and go from baseball, and like I said, it remains to be seen whether that's going to hit my radar this year.
Right. Well, what hopefully will hit everybody's radar is this new High Spirits album. I've heard an advanced copy of it. It's streaming up on Bandcamp starting today, correct?
That is correct. We got the go-ahead to put it up there a week ahead of the album release. The record company has always been very open to kind of our view of really looking after our fans the best way we can. And as we've begun filling orders that we've gotten for the CD and for the vinyl album from us, we thought it would be a good thing to also just go ahead and give everybody their download that goes with that, and also put the thing up for streaming in the meantime. It'll be live on the other streaming platforms, other digital platforms, I should say, on the release date, the 31st, 1 week from today. But yeah, for now, everyone's welcome to help themselves to a stream at Bandcamp.
And I was looking down through. I see all the vinyl has already sold out. That's got to be encouraging.
It is, and not to cause any confusion on our part, I hope. But those the sold out vinyl, that refers to the copies that we've brought over from the record company.
Sure.
We brought over a few hundred copies to obviously hook up ourselves and the people who worked on the record, and also offer our fans a chance to buy it directly from us, which I know a lot of fans, especially nowadays, are keen to do. It will be available at a number of other number of outlets. It doesn't.
Okay.
It's not sold out throughout the world. You know what I mean? It's just kind of sold out from our own web shops that we maintain.
Okay, cool. Do you prefer this album on vinyl or any? Do you prefer your music on vinyl or CD, digital? What's your main platform to listen to music on?
For myself, it's a mix of CD and LP. A lot of people seem to have written off CDs. More or less permanently in their lives, and I do understand that. I mean, there's, a thousand CDs looks just kind of like a big hunk of plastic. No matter what kind of cool and well-loved titles you might have in there. But what I think is underrated or maybe undervalued in CDs is their durability. I mean, I don't have a record player in my car. I don't know about you, Lance, but I wasn't able to get a record player with my with my Subaru. So just for that reason alone, I've held on to a lot of CDs. No, not every CD I've ever owned. Far from it, but I've consolidated CDs probably down to about 1,000 titles, maybe a little more than that. I don't think I could go much lower than that because, again, I like the durability. I like the convenience of them, and I just never, when it comes to the streaming platforms and your iPods and stuff like that. That just I kind of didn't hop on that train when it was in the station,
Yeah.
so to speak. And I may be a lost cause. I download very little music, if any. I will check out a band on YouTube or on Bandcamp here and there, but if I like it, if it's something I'm interested in owning, I'm going to buy the CD or I'm gonna buy the LP.
Yeah. I agree. Turntable did not come as any type of standard or optional equipment in my car as well. So I like the CDs. Same thing as you said,
Right
durability
on.
and convenience. When I'm on the road, I'd much rather listen to a CD and stuff. So
And they are as durable as they are. They're also fragile,
right.
and they do kind of have a useful lifespan that does eventually expire. But then another upside is that generally they're cheap to replace.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
so again, I do have a lot of love for my record collection, for vinyl records.
Mhm.
At home, a lot of the listening that we do is off of the records, but CDs as well. So again, it's a mix of both. And of course, my favorite bands I have, I bought the cassettes when I was a kid, and I
Yeah.
bought the CDs when I was a teenager, and then I have probably bought the record in the meantime since then. So.
Right.
I'm ready to go with my favorites. I'm ready to go in any situation, I hope.
Exactly. Let's jump into this album a little bit. I listened to my copy the other night. I made some notes on a couple of tunes. Let's start with track one, Since You've Been Gone. The first thing that sprung to mind with me is Rainbow, but this is your own song. And this song, what I loved about this, I can think of, I like, you have sort of two guitar solos in this song, correct?
Yeah, you could say so. Yeah.
They're sort of split. To me, there are only a handful of great songs that have two guitar solos that I can think of that really knock me out. One is Cheap Trick, I Want You to Want Me, and the other one is Hound Dog by Elvis. And I would rank this one right in there with it. Those two solos
Oh,
are
wow.
awesome.
Oh well, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
That's an area where I feel that I've improved. That is as a guitarist. I've always been a very um, awkward guitarist compared to being more comfortable on certain other instruments. So I appreciate that very much because like I said, I feel like I have made maybe a few incremental improvements as a guitar player. So that's cool that you would pick up on that.
Yeah, great tune. Now, did you handpick this one to sequence? I'm assuming you sequenced the album in order. Was this one that was always in mind to lead the album off, or?
Yes, definitely. I think it's hard to imagine, especially with that kind of opening overture almost,
Mhm.
because there's that kind of like setup before the song actually kicks in and the drums get going. I think, especially given that little, intro section, it's
Mhm.
hard to imagine it anywhere but first
Yeah.
on this album.
Gonna
Or
jump
on any album.
to track three, Face to Face, an absolute monster riff. That could be Black Sabbath's Mob Rule's little brother right there.
You're not the first one to point that out, and somebody else mentioned there was another song that somebody kind of connected it to in their ear, and I can't remember what that other song was, but yeah, I did hear Mob Rules once already. That's nothing intentional on my part.
Yeah.
I don't go looking for those. I don't go looking for those connections
Yeah.
necessarily. It happens from time to time. Sometimes I'll notice it on the way by. Sometimes I'll notice something that's a little too close, and so well, that's not acceptable.
Yeah.
There's no formula that I apply for
Well, yeah.
what kind of how much similarity I would tolerate between a high spirits riff and some other band's riff. It's kind of I just kind of take it as
Yeah.
it goes. And honestly, the Mob Rules thing I didn't notice until this other interviewer pointed it out. And again, I don't disagree, but it certainly was. More accidental than anything.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many notes and so many riffs and so many combinations you can put out there before you come around to that. Did you approach this song from sort of was Sabbath like an influence on you at all? You listen to them?
Uh, Sure, I've always listened to them since I was a kid. I don't know that I could speak to any specific influence on High Spirits any more or less than 100 or possibly 1,000 other bands.
Sure.
I think what I want to achieve with High Spirits is having that vague or maybe not so vague familiarity, um, again, without being directly tied to a particular influence or a particular other influence or a particular range of influences. Let's say I've always kind of kept this space open to really the whole range, the entirety of rock music,
Mm,
not so much 60s stuff, but certainly a lot of 70s stuff, late 70s stuff in particular, but
sure.
up through the 80s and 90s and even the more recent decades too. It really could be anything that kind of worms its way in and, kind of leaves a mark
Yeah.
on what we're doing musically. And again, I think that's something that we've really kind of strived to achieve is to not box ourselves
Mm,
into a particular genre or subgenre. We've never really even referred to ourselves as a heavy metal band. I've
mm,
always preferred the term high energy rock,
yeah.
which I think is maybe a bit more descriptive of what we do in particular. But again,
Sure.
I don't want to stick a label on something and inadvertently. Overly categorize something and have
Sure.
somebody be turned off to it, and because that's a tricky game, and everybody has all of those genre terms are very relative. I think
Yeah.
so. It can be self defeating.
It's interesting. You talk about the different eras and stuff that you were coming up from with some of this stuff. I'm going to jump to Voice in the Wind, which is track 5.
Sure.
To my ear, when I heard that, it took. There was a band that came out in the early '80s out in LA. They only had a couple of hits, uh, called the Plimsouls, and
Doesn't ring a bell, but
doesn't
go
ring a
on.
bell. They were sort of a rock band out there, and like I said, in the early '80s, they had an album out. I think it was called Everywhere at Once, and
Okay.
the group was called the Plimsouls. And then you have like a '90s stuff with like Green Day, and to me, Voice in the Wind was a nice combination of the melody of the Plimsouls with a little bit of the aggression of Green Day, and I really like that track.
Cool. Well, I'm glad it works for you. I I can tell you that Green Day and bands like that have never really been in my vocabulary. So
Mm,
again, any similarity there
yeah,
is very very coincidental. I think with Voice in the Wind, my associations are closer to what you were describing with that '80s band. I always had a as a kid especially, I had a fondness. Well, when you're a kid, you don't understand that there are different types of music, maybe. And I think until I was a certain age, I kind of liked all music equally. I'm talking about when I'm 5 or 6 or
sure.
7 years old, just seeing what I could find on the radio, and I up to a certain age, a certain young age, again. Um, I really liked kind of the just like the top 40 FM radio
Hmm.
stuff, and this would have been. I was born in 1978, so this would be we're talking maybe 1984, 1985.
Yeah.
That period of American top 40 radio. And again, I'm not able to point to a particular artist or a particular song even, but with Voice in the Wind, it's kind of that almost there was almost this atmospheric quality
Sure.
to some of those top 40 songs at the time, um, that really caught on with me, and I'd always wanted to kind of see if I could reflect that a little bit, on a song that I would write. Now, if it comes out the other end and sounds more like a '90s punk band, so be it. I mean,
Right.
everybody's going to bring their own associations to to the song and to what they hear, and I get that totally. But I can tell you that my mentality and where where my ear wanders to with Voice in the Wind is way more 80s top 40 than it is 90s punk.
And like 84, 85, that was a great era for the stuff that you're talking about. You know, you had, OMD and there was a group came out 85, 86 called Cock Robin, had a hit called When Your Heart Is Weak. That's just a gorgeous, lush song. So
Okay, I'm
yeah.
going to check it out. I'm not able to point to any specific artists or because again, I was a little kid. You know,
Yeah.
I was single digit years old, and I
Yeah.
hadn't kind of gotten hit with the heavy metal tsunami that was coming a few years later for me.
And it did.
Um,
I was there for that.
oh yeah,
It was
yeah.
awesome.
So say the name of that track again.
The group is called Cock Robin, and the song is called When Your Heart Is Weak, and it is a
Okay,
gorgeous, gorgeous track.
I'm going to check it out.
Cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Midnight Sun. I want to get into this is where lyrics struck me. You had some lyrics in this song. Opening line, another year gone in a day, just fabulous. The stage is yours tonight to sing the world its lullaby. Just, those really, really struck me.
Thank you.
Inspiration for those lyrics. Do they come to you out of the cosmos? You jot them down on napkins, or are they ideas you've had, or how do they come about lyrics like that? I think they're great.
Well, thanks. Thanks a lot, and indeed, and it's a bit like that. It's a bit like they come out of the cosmos and kind of land, on my lap or on my laptop, as the case may be. But it's never anyone. It's never any one way. Often, what comes out of the cosmos or comes, from some unknown world is just a little piece, just like a little seed um, for a song, and then you kind of have to roll up your sleeves and draw the rest out of that, whether that's a central image or maybe that's a couple lines of a chorus that you work from. It's still, there's never an entire set of lyrics that just kind of, I wake up in the middle of the night and write it on a notebook. I wish that would happen. That would be a time savings for
Yeah.
sure. But usually what happens is, there's just a little seed or a little hook or a thread that you can kind of pull and follow. And with Midnight Sun in particular, that was a song. That I was inspired to write after Mark Reale from Riot died. He's been one of my inspirations, kind of as a songwriter, definitely, as a musician, as the kind of super stubborn band leader to carry on at all costs. That was kind of his persona, and when he passed away, I was very moved. I was very sad for his pain and certainly what his bandmates had to go through at the time. So with Midnight Sun, that's a bit of an anomaly for High Spirits, and that I did have a very clear kind of at the onset of writing that, or at the outset rather, of writing that song, I did have a clear destination in mind. I wanted to memorialize him in a song, musically as well as lyrically. And that song's actually quite old. That song is from 2013, and at that time I made a demo version of it, which was shared with the public, and which did make its way into our live set. And it turned out to be quite a popular song in the live set. Because it's got that big chorus. It's got the sing along chorus toward the end too,
Yeah.
which is always a good hook for the audience to a point. You don't want to abuse that privilege.
Yeah.
But it is a really good way to draw people in and to get that real time audience participation. And so because of that, because it has become kind of this crowd favorite. Um, despite only existing in demo form, as far as a recording goes, with this album, I thought that it fit the atmosphere of the album perfectly. Um, and that this would be exactly the right time to finally do a real studio version of Midnight Sun. So after somebody sees the show and they want to hear that Midnight Sun song again, they can go find it and hear this version rather than that demo with the drum machine and the kind of weird crunchy guitar sound that it has. I know how that works. I know that there will be people who say that the demo is better.
Yeah.
I, in the long run, I might be one of them. I don't know,
Right.
but I do know how that works, and I'm accepting of that. But at the same time, I think somebody who hears, which is maybe the case with you, who hears the album version first,
Right.
that's going to be the one that they go back to. And if you heard the demo version, you'd say this sounds like a mess, and maybe so, even though it is it is the same song. So again, Midnight Sun is a bit of an anomaly in a few ways.
Jump ahead to the closing track, Hard to Stop. I gave you what I always call my last song test. I always listen to the last song as intently as the first to see if the band is trying as hard on the last song of the album as they're on the first. And you passed.
Okay.
And I heard this as sort of a great closer for the album, but also there was and the lyric and the melody and the way it went, I could also almost see it being a great opener for a live set as well. You know, it almost had like a dual role the way I was hearing it.
I hadn't thought about that, but you might be right. You might be right.
Yeah, the way the lyric comes out and everything. I was like, man, it's a great ender, but I could almost hear it as an opener for a live set. A little bit about Hard to Stop. Is that a new one, an old one?
Let's see. For this album, I would say it's relatively old. It's not as old as Midnight Sun,
Mm.
but it might be among the next oldest group, which would include let me see, which would include Since You've Been Gone. Um, let's see, what else is pretty? Yeah, I think it would be among. Okay, so it would be among the older. The next after Midnight Sun, the next oldest songs would be Since You've Been Gone, and that song's actually called We Are Everywhere.
Okay.
We went back and forth between calling it Hard to Stop versus calling it We Are Everywhere, and we changed our minds at the last minute. But the promo bundle had already been cut and ready to distribute, so it went out with the wrong title. So I apologize for that. It's on me. But yes, that is again, that is one of the oldest. Not the whole song, but it's got some parts in it that may go back to 2016, certainly 2017, but maybe earlier. Yes,
Right.
and that song I view as kind of a it's kind of a salute. It's a hail to
Yes.
to high spirits. With that I include the fans and the audience too. I mean, that's like the entirety of high spirits. It's after the album's kind of gone through this range of songs and lyrics and different emotions and different tempos. We Are Everywhere is kind of the like, all right, now this is the home stretch. We're gonna get you back where you started, safe and sound, and catch you next time. So it's really just kind of like a big. Maybe a curtain call. Maybe you could call it a curtain call.
Yeah.
At the end of the album, like bring everybody out again. Raise the energy in the room one last time, and then, like I said, get you home safe.
Right. Your encore, Yeah. Good stuff. It's sort of like your encore,
Yeah, in a way, exactly.
Cool. Let's go back in time to your early days. I did a little bit of research here. You've been obsessed with metal since a young age when you were growing up in New Jersey. Your parents encouraged you with guitar and drum lessons, and they encouraged you to get a job to buy your CDs back then. I got to ask you, were you a member of like the RCA CD Club or the Columbia House Record Club or anything like that back then?
One of them, yeah, I was. It was maybe it was the RCA one, and yeah, that's funny because this was kind of right at the moment where I realized there was heavy metal. Like I think when I joined the RCA club was at the very end of that period we were talking about before, where I was kind of listening to a lot of radio
Yeah.
and top 40 stuff. So I think like right around the time I got that first delivery of like Billy Idol and Fleetwood Mac and U2, and I was just like kind of picking names that sounded
Sure.
familiar or whatever. It was almost at the same exact moment when I found an Iron Maiden album and I heard Metallica on the radio, and I was like, no, wait a minute. Why did I get all this stuff? This is the sound I've been looking for. And yeah, I didn't stick around with the record club because there wasn't enough of that stuff. It was like once I found once I found the sound that I was looking for, it's like this whole world opened up. And that would have been when I was about, say I was 10, and then we moved to a new town and a new school,
Right.
where I made some friends who had older brothers. Well, one friend in particular who had an older brother, and a group of friends who were way into metal. And that was game over. Became friends with him, and we were just checking out everything we could.
That must have been around the time when you moved to Philadelphia and
Exactly.
You got a hold of that first Coroner's Punishment cassette.
Yes. Yeah, so you did some homework. I like that.
I did do that. Yeah. But overall, the other thing that really struck me with you, I read in some past interviews and research with you, your lyrical content is uplifting. You've basically been happy. You've lived a happy life. You've done all well, and you try and impress that into your music. And I find that refreshing, to do that. I think there was a period there in the 90s where everybody got kind of angst ridden, And,
I think so. Or they certainly were playing to that element, whether that reflected them or not.
Yeah.
I find it. I find it hard to fake it. Not that I've ever really tried, but I feel like it just makes the work harder if you're trying to play a character at the same time. I mean, yes, there's a certain character or a certain part of my character that High Spirits reflects. It doesn't reflect the entirety of my character. I do have to kind of focus on. I have to keep a certain mindset with regard to the songwriting and the performing, and the standards that go along with that. But what is coming across is genuine, and yes, I have for the most part, I have been very lucky to have a life that's been free of tragedy and disaster. I mean, everybody has had his or her own share of hardship, of grief, and these things, and that describes me also. Some people have had a lot more than their share of that to endure, but I don't feel, if I'm being honest, I don't feel that I have, and I guess that may be what comes across through High Spirits is, or if not that, at least a focus on that, an emphasis on that, kind of gratitude.
Absolutely, good stuff. Talking with Chris Black here for Let's Discuss with Lance Hall. High Spirits is the name of the group. Hard to Stop, the name of the album, coming out July 31st on High Roller Records. Going forward now, what's coming up next? We're in such crazy times now. We're talking about life and everything. How are you coping with all this and moving forward? What are the plans?
Well, the plans, right? Well, there are only the plans are all in pencil right now. Let's put it that way. Everything we had some touring plans for this year.
Yeah.
We were supposed to be doing a European kind of album release tour that was to start in Belgium a week from today, and then we were going to continue through there and Netherlands, spend a lot of time in Germany as always. Germany has been very good to this band. We were about to play a large festival at the end of that too. Obviously none of that's happening. It's all been kind of picked up and dropped into the same part of the calendar for next year. I would say we have about 20, yeah, probably 15, 20 gigs lined up tentatively for next year. We don't expect to be doing any live work at all this year. I think we've basically agreed as a band that that we wouldn't even really consider it until the new year. So as of now, the plan is to just focus on the album. We knew pretty early on. I would say certainly by the end of April that these gigs were not going to happen. We didn't see any reason to not go ahead with the album release. Those wheels, that machinery was already active, and those wheels were already turning. The record company was certainly keen to still bring the album to market, and like I said, there was really no reason um, not to. If anything, the playing field is a little less crowded right now than it would have been in a normal year. So right now, the plan is to just focus on the album, get that across to make sure everybody who's interested in it gets to check it out, whether as an LP or they just bang it off of YouTube or Spotify or whatever their preference is going to be. Right now, we just want the album to find its audience and hopefully build some anticipation for next year that is going to pay off.
Absolutely, and I think it will. It's a great album, and once everybody hears it, I think the proof will be in the pudding, and they'll be ready once these live gigs start coming back. I think you'll get it back in spades. So
I hope so. Thank you. Yeah, we're optimistic, but we're also open to the fact we're accepting of the fact that nobody really knows. The crystal ball right now is still a bit cloudy, so we're laying the best tentative plans that we can. But again, trying to also focus on the present because that's what's certain right now is the present.
I was going to say the entire world's itinerary is written in pencil right now.
Exactly, and it's it's now been so many months that I think people are very accepting of that and accepting of the kind of day to day, week to week changes that are happening, and I just my wish for everybody is that we'll be off this roller coaster soon, and we'll all meet again on the safe side next year.
Absolutely. Chris, I always like to wrap my interviews up with a few fun, silly questions. You have time for a couple of those?
I'll try my best.
I'm hoping these are questions you've never been asked before. If you could go back in time and eat one of your mom's home-cooked meals from your youth, what would you have her make?
Oh, she used to make a good, like a really plain spaghetti pasta with fresh tomatoes and black olives and just a little bit of olive oil. Nice. And some herbs. That sounds real good right now.
Excellent. Would you rather have the power to read minds or to be invisible?
I feel like my 9-year-old asked me that same question last week, actually, and I don't remember the answer.
Okay.
I think I would turn both of those down. Honestly, I think I'd pass on both of those. That would just make life super weird, wouldn't it?
Yes, you would. If you could pick a television show to have a high spirit song placed in, what TV show would you pick?
Off the top of my head, Letterkenny.
All right. Favorite superhero?
Lemmy.
Let's go back. Let's go the other direction. Favorite villain?
Blackie.
Those are a great couple of answers.
Oh, he's the ultimate rock and roll villain. He's even born again. I mean, how much more? How much more evil can you
be? Favorite old school wrestler?
Old school wrestler? Is Sabu old school enough?
Sabu, definitely, and he was badass. Absolutely.
And original Dudleys in ECW for the tag team.
Yes, the Dudley boys. They were, yes. Let's see. Given your choice of household chores, dishes or laundry?
Laundry.
Okay. Favorite topping for your pizza?
Nothing. Or there's a particular place that I like to have put bacon on it, but usually I just go plain cheese.
Okay. Last one, and this is the one we have the most fun with, and I was asking this long before all the biopics came out. If they were to make a movie of your life, what actor would you have play you in the movie? And it's your movie, your life. You can pick anybody.
Oh wow, I have no idea. I have no idea. I don't know enough of the I don't know enough of the names and the faces to to give a real answer for that. I'm sorry.
All right, no, sounds good. All right, we've been talking with Chris Black here for Let's Discuss with Lance Hall. Once again, the group is High Spirits. The album Hard to Stop coming out July 31st on High Roller Records. You can check it out on Bandcamp right now, and then it comes out everywhere next week. Great album, Chris. Hopefully things in the future shape up for all of us, and you guys get back out on the road doing what you're doing. And in the meantime, we'll enjoy this album.
Lance, it was awesome to talk to you, and I appreciate your optimism, and want you to know that I share that optimism. And like I said, I think we're all going to meet on the other side of this craziness, and it's going to be good times again.
Absolutely.
Better than ever. That's my wish.
Absolutely.
Better than ever.
Thank you very much, Chris. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and thank you so much for your time.
Lance, take care. Thank you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.